him out of the game there?
No.
Why not?
You want me to take Ben Simmons off the floor?
No, I mean, I got to ask the question.
I will pass on that one. He's pretty good, so I'll pass on that suggestion.
I know that obviously not one person saves the day, but I think when Joel is in trouble and gone and fans want Ben to save the day because they look at him as the other cornerstone and they feel like he delivers less than what they're expecting. Is that fair for them to see it that way?
No, but you guys keep this Ben Simmons narrative alive, which to me is freaking insane, how good this guy is and all the things he does. Ben is not a 40-point guy. It's not what he does. He does other things for your team. And I just don't understand why that's not sinking in our city.
All right, we got Chris Broussard back with us now. So, Broussard, what do you make of Doc's defense of Ben Simmons?
Well, look, it's what you would expect the coach to say. Mostly what you would expect the coach to say. I expect Doc, and he's right, to defend his player. Ben is a great player. But he goes a little bit overboard and acting like the media or fans are just bugging, just tripping, like the fact that they talk about Ben Simmons' inability to shoot free throws or even attempt jump shots. It is a big deal. And this is the stance that Doc has taken since he got to Philly. He's talked about it's not that big of a deal that Ben doesn't shoot. You know, he does all the other things and everything. In today's NBA, it's a big deal. We know Ben Simmons is a legitimately very good player and a legitimate all-star. Great defender, very good passer, very good playmaker, great in transition, can finish at the rim, all of that. But his deficiency at this point in time in the NBA is huge. And I know we're talking about the free throws from last night and throughout these playoffs, and that's a big deal. And this whole hack-a-Ben thing can become an issue for the Sixers because it's different than hack-a-Shaq. You don't have to, it won't be as obvious with hack-a-Ben because he's going to have the ball in his hands, going to bringing the ball up court. So you can just foul him and get the Sixers to the line. He makes one of two or misses both, and you can get the basketball and go back on offense. Like, this is an issue. Publicly, this is fine for Doc, but privately, he needs to have been emphasizing this with Ben all year. We gotta have you attempting jump shots. We have to have you working on your free throws. You're the point guard. Centers need to be able to shoot in today's NBA, much less a point guard. So Doc, I hope he's been harping on this all season with Ben in private. I don't think he really has. And so you can't jump on him now in the middle of the playoffs to say, hey, you got to start shooting. You got to play it out and then try to fix it in the offseason. I feel like we've been saying that since Ben got in the league. But I think Doc, look, he defends his player. Right, he defends his player, that's great. But he goes a little too far in acting like people are just out of their minds for focusing on Ben Simmons' lack of jump shooting or foul shooting.
But Chris, I agree with Doc Rivers on this one. It's a narrative. Have we ever heard Ben Simmons come out and say, I want to lead the league in scoring. I want the scoring title. I can drop 30, 40 points a night if I want to. You never heard him talk about that. In fact, the only thing that we heard him talk about was defense. We know exactly who Ben Simmons is. We just won't accept it. We know he is a world-class defender. We know he's an elite distributor, but we just won't accept it. So at this point, it is a narrative. I played into that narrative last year when he was in a bubble. Embiid goes down. Ben Simmons goes down, and there's just Embiid out there. And now we're talking about, okay, what is this team going to look like this offseason? What are they going to do? And we talked about Embiid. He needs to grow. He needs to be more mature. He needs to be a leader. And we talked about Ben, the same conversations we've been having. Oh, he needs to be better from the free throw line. He needs to shoot. He needs to actually just take a shot. Last night, he didn't even attempt a three-pointer. But look, I'm with you on the free throw thing. There's no way you can be 45% from the free throw line. Hell, Shaquille O'Neal was terrible, but he was held accountable and he continued to work on it. He never got it right, but he cannot be a 45%. He cannot be 45% from the free throw line. But let me ask you this really quick, Chris. When we think about other guys and putting guys in a box, and it's okay, like who do we think of when we think about three-pointers? Like this, you're here to shoot the ball. When we think about defense, you're here on this team to shoot, to lock down this offensive guy. You're here to rebound the basketball. So why can't we do this with Ben Simmons?
Because it's a different NBA. Everybody's shooting today. And I'm not saying he's got to shoot a ton of three-pointers, but he just has to be a threat from the perimeter. You can literally play 4-on-5 or you not guard him a lot of times in the half court. Now, he's great in the paint, and he will penetrate and all that. But I just need him to be somewhat of a threat. Don't be afraid to take the 16-foot shot. That's it. That's all I'm asking. We've seen the problems this caused for Giannis throughout his career, and it's doing the same thing with Ben, even worse.
Right, which is why if Ben was your primary scoring option, you'd be in big trouble. For the Sixers, he's your third scoring option, and he is, I believe, should have been the Defensive Player of the Year this year. I know Rudy Gobert is going to win it. Ben will finish top 3. But what everyone is talking about, Wildes, is what would take him from all-star to superstar. He ain't a superstar. He's an all-star. He does, and he is a guy whose weakness is incredibly glaring. I do think that Doc should consider that if there is no judgment when the Warriors, go back and watch the Warriors in 2015, 2016, before they got KD. If they were in a tight nip and tuck, there weren't many of them, playoff game late, they would occasionally go offense, defense with Steph Curry. The Cavs obviously did it all the time with Kevin Love. And it was like, all right, these guys can't defend. Steph's gotten much better since then, by the way. So we're going to switch them. There's not a judgment, Wildes, when we do it in that direction. It's like this guy's a great offensive player, hurts us on defense. So in the critical spots, we might take him off the court and then put him right back on the court. If Doc needs to do that with Ben at some point, then I think he can, and I don't think it is some grave insult to Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons right now, he's a victim's the wrong word, but I'll use it anyway. He's a victim of being the #1 overall pick and a guy whose offensive game has not evolved, and people don't care as much about the defensive side of the ball, where I think he was the best player in the league this year. I think he was the best defender in the league this year, and I think Doc is trying to emphasize that point while building up his own guys.
Sure, I buy that he's building up his own guy, but the question is, who's the bad guy? The people, the media, and the fans in Philadelphia who are saying, hey, we think with a little bit of work, Ben Simmons can be a superstar, or everybody else is like, oh, okay, you're right, Doc. He's a defensive specialist and kind of a nice distributor. He's kind of like a tall Rondo, except you don't get playoff Ben, he's just regular. I think those people should be chastised, not the fans in the media. They're like, hey, we believe in you. It's coming out in an awkward way, but we believe in you. We want you to shoot threes. And Broussard, I think it would be, an empty belief if we haven't seen it with other guys. We saw Jason Kidd be a great leader, play good defense, distribute the ball, not be able to shoot. All of a sudden, he's like, what would make me great? Be able to shoot. All of a sudden, he's one of the all-time leaders in like 3 points. Same with Tracy. I talked to Tracy. He's like, yeah, I couldn't shoot. So you know what I decided to do? Learn to shoot. It became a great shooter. I think people think that Ben has the potential to do it. And whether it's nerves or sort of an uncomfortability, I just don't think that the fans and the media should be chastised for wanting the best for Ben Simmons and to reach the potential,
best for Ben
not
Simmons.
dissimilar
Ben
to what
Simmons
Jason Kidd did.
knows what's best for him. Hold on. Ben Simmons, the fans and the media.
I think
Ben Simmons, who knows what's best for Ben Simmons more than Ben Simmons? That's ridiculous.
No, Brandon, we're not mental health. We're not talking about that with Ben. We're talking about on the court. On the court,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on the court. I'm not talking about mental health. That was 2 segments ago.
Okay. All right.
Where's that coming from? We're talking about Ben Simmons. You don't think he's a professional athlete?
Brandon, on the court, it is undeniable that it would be best for Ben Simmons and his team if he would attempt some jump shots and if we would improve from the free throw line. That's undeniable. That's not a preference of Wilds or the fans or anybody else.
But not to be the greatest three-point shooter to ever live.
Nobody's asking him to. All we're asking you to do is take the shots and be a threat. Now, you said it and Nick said it. He's a legitimate all-star. He's not a superstar, but he's a star. The Philadelphia 76ers are a legitimate contender. They're a good team. But we're talking about them becoming a championship team. And for them to be a championship team, Ben is going to have to add a little something to his game. I think it is mental.
Or they just need to continue, or they need to just continue to build the roster. They need to continue to just coach better and accept who he is. Like, he's showing you who he is. He's been showing us for the past couple years. We just choose not to accept it. So here's the question. Let's say he's coming out next year's draft, right? And we know exactly who he is. We're not expecting him to come in and drop 30 points, 35 points, to be a leader in scoring year in and year out. Where would he go in the draft? Would he still go high? Would he still be a lottery pick? Absolutely.
Nobody's
he would.
asking him to average 30. We're saying take a 6.